Hey, so I wanted to look at three more ETF type stocks today. So we're just going to circle back on XLK, which is the technology sector, XLY, which is consumer discretionary, and then XLV, healthcare. We'll go in that order. This is just going to be technical analysis. So if you have a different price points that you're looking for, feel free to share that below. Or if you just want to add anything, feel free to leave a comment. But otherwise, we're just going to start with XLK, which again, that's technology. That's currently on the screen. Right here, we have until end of June would be right in here. Um, if I were to guess where it's going to finish out, um, you know, maybe we should start with the last time I looked at this was April 30th. So if we zoom in some, April 30th, so that was back here roughly around 150. It's clearly gone up to 165. It's well exceeded our uh, resistance point marked at about 157. We figured that day would happen. It's just I would have thought that would have happened more so in like July, maybe June, but more so July, like third quarter. I thought that's when it would really start to push up against this line and actually exceed it, just based on our uptrend we have here in purple. This yellow line, that was just kind of marking out the pattern that it was following. And as we can see, it's just gone way above that. So this point would be more flat. And then ultimately we're up here. If I were to guess in terms of the where will it end come June 30th, probably like here is where I think it's gonna have to pull back some, and yeah, we'll just kind of see how that turns out. So what I've been doing is like drawing in like a range of what I think it might finish out the the quarter for, and I guess at this point that's kind of where I'm thinking. Let's get out of that. So right around in this range, I think is more likely to occur as opposed to like continuing to go higher. I think it's, if anything, it's going to pull back, hopefully back in that up channel, up that that trend channel we drew out in the purple lines. Of course, we'll see. I guess overall, just to get a better picture, is this one's clearly above our indicators in terms of a buy point. So I'm going to mark this one as a red, and I'll share my spreadsheet here in probably a minute or two. But for now, I just want to update it. So it was at 150. Right now, as of close on Monday, May 30th, it's at 165. The buy points I marked were 134 and 140, and that was more or less in the middle of this fair value range. Um, in terms of a buy point, like right now, what I'd be looking for between, I just can't imagine I would actually buy this one between now and then. So for now, I would say buy point would be like 140. 140, that's down here. That's the closer end of the fair value margin or channel that we marked out in blue. So that'd be right in the middle, probably on the slightly closer towards the lower of the fair value channel. Of course, we need to keep the uptrend in mind. So we might not get there anytime soon. If we go back a little bit, we'll see. We'll see. Overall, if we go really far back, we can see this uptrend's been a thing for a while. So I think what I'm going to do, just so I can see, if we were to take this all the way back to before we go into 2020, so let's start around 2017. That's about 6 years as opposed to we were doing like 3 years. So if I were to take this back to, here's like a low point. If I just want to catch as much of the low values as possible. I'm going to make this, I guess we'll make this purple also. I want to make it thicker so we can see it. You can see it's definitely like accelerated in terms of the lower end. It's very rare that it gets to the low end. That takes us out to about May of 2025. And then if we were to do the same thing, trying to keep it parallel, of course, trying to catch, the highs for the most part while staying parallel, we can kind of see it's definitely above trend. I mean, here it was way above trend, pulled back, got back in the range, and here we are again on this, what appears to be an accelerated path. Yeah, so just a lot of things for me. In the long term, the short term, I feel like it's just overvalued. The first point that I would consider, I mean, obviously, preferably it'd be like 123 or anywhere in the low hundreds. 140 was what I marked. I'll keep it just to keep it simple. In terms of resistance, I have 157, which is the red line. I still feel like that's a resistance point. I think it's likely it could come back to that point and then continue upward. The other resistance point, of course, is 173. That's like its all-time high. I think it might struggle to get above that. Of course, we'll see. So for this, I guess I'll put in 157 and 173. I'm going to update the date to today. Let me change that. The note that we had was it's in the slight uptrend, which it's still that way. It's been in that uptrend for about 7 months at this point. So I'll update that to show an uptrend, 7 months. It's driven by Apple and Microsoft, making up 45%. So if those ones are doing well, this one's obviously going to do well. So I guess that would be our takeaway. Once we get to Apple and Microsoft, because we do check those, if we see a buy point with those, then maybe XLK is actually at a better point than we think it is. But for now, it looks overvalued. So staying away from that one. It's a pretty big range between now and month and the end of June. But of course, we'll see. If I had to guess for the end of the third quarter, that one's getting a little more tricky. I guess if I had to right now, what I think is possible, and of course, let me know what your opinion is on this. But if I were to draw I'm just going to draw a box just so I have it in there. 122, that's 120. Okay, so like here's the box. Let me make this, black? Right here? Something like that. That's fine. For a range on this one, end of third quarter, I think we're going to run into some resistance here, but I'll mark it a little bit above because who knows. If I were to extend this trend line out, I would say like the low is like here, roughly. Like that would just, basically all that's happening is I'm carrying this out until about here. And then this one, if I carry this out, I could drop it a little bit, but I want to keep it parallel. Somewhere around here, I think is reasonable. Of course, we'll see how this all plays out. I'm going to make this a little bit, I don't know if I can do that. Let's make this like half. Whoops. Ah, crap. I grabbed the wrong line. Make that thicker. Make this one. Can I grab it? We'll make that like half, I guess. Okay. I think this one isn't as parallel as I thought it was originally. Can I grab this? We'll pop that up a little bit more. That looks pretty parallel. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking. Overall, if we look at what I'm thinking for the next quarter, meaning second quarter and third quarter, I mean, right now, just on projections, it looks like this is like, it's just not worth it. Like, even if it was, maybe if it pulled back to 157, I would consider it based on the trends. So I guess we could put that as a potential buy point, 157. Of course, this depends on timing, because if we got to 157, say, by the end of the week, okay, then I would probably keep the 140, remove the 157. But if we got to 157 and it's like early September, okay, then I might actually add it at that point. But that's kind of how I'm seeing it. So that was XLK. Let's move on to XLY, see what we see there. So XLY, if we zoom in, this one already looks better. It's at what we previously thought was a fair value point at around 154. We had a buy point at 137. We noticed this uptrend happening. If we look at our notes from before, and again, this is consumer discretionary, we noted it was in a short-term downtrend, actually, but a long-term uptrend. Interesting. Okay, so this is very similar to what we saw with the technology. We were seeing these uptrends. Just like technology, we saw this big pop, and now it's kind of back in that range. What I want to do is just carry this one out a ways. Something like that. And then this one, trying to keep it parallel. So if we look at the uptrend going back to like 2017, it's actually still undervalued. If we look at the more near term, it's at the top of the range. And then of course we had this downtrend here, which I think it's still too soon to pull it out, but I would understand it if we pulled it out. But we'll wait till maybe like the end of the quarter, so maybe end of June. If it continues to trend upward or even sideways, yeah, we'd probably remove our golden downtrend. Overall, like this one, I mean, right off the bat, I'm going to mark this one as a blue because I feel like it is at a fair value today. I just think we're going to come across others that are a good price. So this one's not a bad one. It's fair. So if this was something I wanted to get into and really focus on this one, I wouldn't be upset about buying it right now at this point. But like I said, I think there's going to be other opportunities out there. So I'm willing to wait and we'll circle back and see what it's like. Whenever we get back to this, maybe next month or the end of the month, like June, end of June possibly. Last time we looked at this was on April 10th. So if we zoom in, April 10th was about here, somewhere in this week. So we'll just round up to 147. It was 145. So right now it's at 152. Didn't go up all that much, but it consecutively kind of inched its way up. Had a little pop here in mid-May, and it seems to continuing to climb. But let's update it. So from 145 to now 152. Really, it's 153. The buy points we said were 137, which is the green line, and 130 would be down here. I guess because we thought it might go down more. We're going to remove the 130. We'll keep the 137. That's the green point. I guess between now and quarter end, where could I imagine this one? I think it's still in this trend line that we drew earlier. So I think what's possible is something like here. I'm gonna make this one go up just a little bit, something like that. I think we'll be in this range, and if anything, I would even bump this up to say like here, just to give us a little more of a precise estimate between, just this next month. This one seems to be following suit, so I would say right now, if this one dropped to about 147, I would consider it. So I will at that point in. So 137 and 147. Again, hopefully that kind of keeps it simple for us. And of course, if it drops lower, I would add into it. Resistance at 181. That's that red line. I guess overall, hopefully this isn't too messy for us. I mean, I'm following it, so I'm sure everyone can. But any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll probably clean this up over time. I just want to see if there's any other spots that it might struggle to get over. Like potentially somewhere like here-ish. We can draw in another line. Again, hopefully this isn't like too crazy to follow. But I feel like right around here, we'll make this blue. This will be the upward end of what I would say is a fair value like range between about 154 and 170. So I think it's possible we might see a little bit of resistance in like 170. And then of course 181. We'll update the date if we can. Let's see, we'll take that to 530. Short-term downtrend, I'll just say broken. Long-term uptrend, we're on the lower end of it. So again, I would be okay with this one. I actually would be, and that's why we marked it blue. Downtrend, oh, okay, so I actually said that already. Let's just remove this. So long-term uptrend, downtrend has been broken. This one's driven by Amazon and Tesla. So again, I feel like Tesla's at a good point. I haven't looked at them in like the past maybe 3 or 4 days, but so sometime last week I know is at a good price point. Amazon, I think, is also at a decent point. So yeah, overall, I think I'd be okay with this one. I don't know enough to make it a green stock, meaning like a buy, but definitely a fair value. We'll see. So I do have one more sector. Oh, if I wanted to also pick a point for end of third quarter, I guess just kind of keeping trend with these. I would say end of third quarter, so that's about here. So if I just draw a box, let's see, 10.6, 9.2, 9.29. Let's zoom in a little bit. So 9.29, 10.6. I'm gonna say it's pretty big. Yeah, it's definitely a big range. So I'll probably tone it back a little bit. But okay, now I can't catch it. Here we go. We want to make that like a gray. I'm gonna make it half. This one, I'm gonna scale this back. I think that's kind of unlikely. I'll scale it back down to, yeah, I'll keep it open. So this one's a pretty good one. I actually do like this one. Again, not enough to make it a buy right now, but it's definitely like, it's worth considering. So before I go into XLV, I just want to kind of update us here on the spreadsheet because I know I don't think I did that with technology. So right here, this is what we just worked on, these two. You can see with technology, it's at that 165. We had buy points marked at 140 and 157. We also have resistance at 157. So that's why it's not in a good spot for me. Of course, let me know what you think. And then XLY, consumer discretionary, it's at 152, but we had buy points marked out at 147, very close. And resistance is way up there at like 170. So this one's definitely worth it. And these colors, these are old. I just want to mention that. So pay attention to the date column right here if you're new to what the colors might be. But green's going to be our buy. And so if we kind of share what we've done previously, we did mark IWM, which is like the Russell 2000. We felt like that was a buy. This purple means I actually bought it around this date. And red is just, it's near resistance, so I don't like it. And then blue is a fair value, and that's right down here in this box. You can see what the colors stand for. But that kind of catches us up. We have a little no column here. Here's all the buy points and resistance points we discussed, and then the current price right here, and then the ticker symbol, along with what each sector is focusing on, is in column B. But let's wrap this one up and look at healthcare. And yeah, let's just close this one out with healthcare. So overall, it's in a long-term uptrend. We noted that. We have the purple line, and then the gold line. So let's zoom in a little bit more. We are below the gold point, our gold uptrend, which previously, since the gold trend started, it's dipped down to that point 1, 2, 3, 4 times. It's dipped to the low end of that gold uptrend 4 times. Of those 4 times, it has gone right up. And the only time it's technically like went below that point, which was most recently, it shot right back in it within 2 weeks. So here we are again. It's now been below that point almost, we'll say 1 week, because this week just started. So 1 week it has actually been below. Based on past trends, I would expect in the next 2 weeks it's going to bounce right back up, getting that uptrend. It's also near our green line, our buy point at 125. And fair value we marked at 132. It's well below that, very close to 125. Right away, I feel like this one, I'm going to give this one a green. I'll give it a go. I think it's at a good price. So let's take a shift to our tracker spreadsheet. So previously it was at 133, and that was on 4.9. So the last time we looked at this was during this candle, the very beginning of this candle. So I'll put it down here at about 133. I'll even put it up here. This is probably the better. It's actually the same. So 133, and it's gone down since then. Very surprising. We had buy points marked at 125 and 130. It is currently at 120. Yeah, let me change that. So it's at 126. So it is very close. It's gone below our higher buy point at 130, which is slightly below the blue line, which I'm guessing at the time was like somewhere probably on the gold line, something like that, below the fair value mark of the blue line. And then of course 125 being the green line. We are very close to the green line for number one, just $1 difference. And then two, we're actually dipping below that long-term uptrend of about 3 years plus, I believe. That long-term uptrend's been intact since 2020. So about 3 years it's been in this uptrend. More often than not, it's above the uptrend. This is one of those rare instances where it's actually dipped below. So I like that. So overall, this is screaming buy for me. Resistance, we didn't have resistance marked out. I guess at this point, if I were to kind of give it a line, I will put in a resistance point. So red, we'll make this the full thickness. For this one, it does seem like it tops out for some reason right around 138. So I guess there, about 138. Um, that doesn't seem like the right red. I guess it is. I'm gonna go with that red. Um, okay, so resistance. We previously didn't have one, but even though this long-term uptrend's been intact, I'll put 138 there, just so we're aware of it. Let's put in the date. Our notes we had was long-term uptrend, which I've been saying, and it continues to accelerate. And what I mean by that is if we go back, we can see that going back to about 2009, it was in this little uptrend for about 3 years. And then from 2013, like end of 2012, early 2013, all of a sudden accelerated for about 7 years. And then here we are today in this gold uptrend where it's even further accelerating. I have to imagine I mean, who knows? I mean, it's been this way for over 2 decades, or close to 2 decades at this point. I can imagine where it can still go up, but it might not go up as quickly. So at some point, there's going to be some sort of correction. I just don't know when. So we'll just kind of keep playing it as we see it. That's pretty much it. That's all the notes I have. So if we zoom back in, if I were to guess in terms of where are we going to be at the end of this quarter, so quarter 2, I'd probably put, let's see, probably around like here. Let me try to space this out. Somewhere in here. I feel like that's a good area. Make that half. So between about 129, possibly all the way up to 135, I think that's doable for this. So clearly we're below that box, which is very good. And then what's even better about this, if we were to look at what I think it'll be come the end of the third quarter, I would imagine the third quarter it's going to be more or less sticking with the trend, only a little bit higher. So something like that, possibly. I guess I'll bring this down just a little bit. I just want to catch that fair value point. Just give it like $1. So I think that's kind of the way we're going to progress with this one between the end of the current quarter, Q2, and then Q3. So that pretty much wraps this up. I mean, again, let me know if you have any questions. I know I didn't go over any news for any of these sectors, so if you have something that you think is worth mentioning, by all means, let me know. I'd be happy to read that. But yeah, so that pretty much wraps this up. We went over XLK, which is technology, XLY, which is consumer discretionary, and so then healthcare, currently it's at 126. I have buy points marked at 130 and 125, so we're very close to that bottom buy point, which is great. Resistance isn't until 138. So again, it's when we get to these smaller value stocks, the dollar value isn't that great, but percentage-wise, it's going to be even greater. So something to just keep in our minds. And then updated the date, and it's still in that long-term uptrend, and it continues to accelerate. So again, that wraps it up. If you have any questions or want to share your buy points or anything you saw potentially different than me, I'd be happy to read that and just kind of discuss what other people are seeing. But that's it. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.